So this screen looks at the spreadsheet in more detail. From a high level, the private sector has developed this spreadsheet at the minus 48 hour interval. And if you look here, there's a map of the U.S. And what the private sector has done is divide the U.S. into 3 time zones, kind of an eastern, a central, and a western. Over here, you'll see a track of the storm, bottom left, and then you'll see an area that summarizes the spreadsheet. And then you'll see the spreadsheet that lists several columns of data. But we'll be using this for the state purposes. We will be focusing on the right side of this and be moving to the left. So let me first describe what these columns mean. Over on the far right, you'll see the requesting electric company locations by state. It doesn't list the name of the companies, just the states. And over on the far left, you'll see where those resources are coming from companies responding to these requests. And in the middle, you'll see the pass-through states. And this isn't perfect, but for the exercise, these are the potential routes that all these companies would take when they leave the responding state and move through the pass-through states into the requesting state companies. If we look at this from the state perspective, the states will be working on the right side of this and then moving left. So let me drill into this for just a second. If I look at Virginia, that's on row 14 and 15. Virginia companies will issue a request. A number of places will respond, but for the exercise, you'll see that the states of Arkansas and Louisiana are sending crews, not the states, but the companies in those states. They'll leave on Tuesday and Monday. They'll arrive ETA. The ETA column will look at when they will arrive. The intrus is the type of trucks they're sending. The number of FTEs or full-time people is outlined there. Then you've got listed your pass-through states as far as Mississippi, Alabama, going into Virginia. You'll also have Arkansas and Louisiana will be pass-through states to support Virginia. Then it looks like Georgia will be a pass-through state to support Virginia. North Carolina, South Carolina, and of course Virginia, parts of Virginia will be pass-through state for Virginia. The important thing about this is you can see crews responding to Virginia here in this model will be coming from Arkansas and Louisiana, passing through a number of states to reach Virginia. The big idea here is that an hour delay along that path can delay as much as 24 hours based on the downstream domino effects of work days and limitations, not so much hours of service, but company limitations for safety or individual state limitations for driver times. So there's a lot of impacts for this. The idea of this call is to alert the pass-through states as to their way stations and toll stations and directions. For this exercise, however, we want to focus on the yellow states here, which are listed as FEMA Region 3 states. So the big idea here is that if you look in the vertical now, Virginia here is a pass-through state for trucks going to parts of West Virginia, the District of Columbia, and Maryland. So we want to make sure Virginia's on alert to make sure their way and toll stations and roadway information is given to the private sector quickly so they can respond. So now let's look at Maryland, row 20 and 21. So if you're in the state of Maryland on the right, you can see all the way on the left that you're going to have resources coming out of the states of Oklahoma and Kansas, probably other states as well, but for purposes of the exercise, the data that was provided yields this kind of path. So you can see that to support Maryland, Kentucky is a pass-through state, Missouri is a pass-through state. In here you've got a number of other states that are pass-through states from D.C., Georgia, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. So folks in Maryland need to understand that they have a number of crews coming through a number of states. Additionally, for Maryland, if you look at this column, Maryland is also a pass-through state for Delaware, right here, and it's also a pass-through state for the District of Columbia. This data changes frequently. It might change by the hour in some cases. This is an example of the types of data that the private sector wants to share with state operators in order to remove any of the potential known or unknown slowdowns for fleet movement. So lastly, we'll look at Pennsylvania. So in this particular model, Pennsylvania crews are requesting support, and those are coming from Michigan and Indiana. And this shows the pass-through states they're going to be moving through are Ohio and Indiana, Illinois, from Pennsylvania. Again, Pennsylvania is serving as a pass-through state for Delaware. It's important to understand these interdependencies that the private sector faces. For the exercise, we'll be focusing primarily on the FEMA Region 3 states, but in a live scenario, it'll be a much broader area of coverage. Back to the high level then, when you are looking at this spreadsheet, if you're a state, you will start from the right and work back to the left. And this will give you an idea from the private sector perspective, based on your state, where the resources are coming from, the pass-through states they go through in order to get to your state. This data is generated for the exercise, and this is an exercise. Going forward, we look to further develop this process to make it simpler to communicate quickly to the states as we move forward into responding to hurricanes.